She stood there without shouting, without pleading, and that was what terrified him. The moment the bank manager tore her check in half, the sound wasn't loud, but it echoed inside her chest like a verdict. $420,000 fluttered into the trash, along with every assumption he had already made about her clothes, her skin, her place in the world. Nadine Brooks didn't cry. She didn't argue. She felt something far colder settle in her veins, because this wasn't the first time a black woman had been told, without words, that she didn't belong. And she knew in that silent second that the man standing across from her had no idea who he was humiliating or what power he had just challenged. As she walked out of the bank, holding her dignity together with shaking hands, one truth burned in her mind. If they stay, if they keep watching, something shocking is about to happen. Something that will turn this room, this bank, and one man's life completely upside down. The first thing Nadine Brooks noticed was the silence. Not the peaceful kind, but the kind that presses down on your chest the moment you step somewhere you're not expected to belong. The marble floor of Brightstone National Bank gleamed under cold white lights. Everything smelled expensive. Polished stone, filtered air, quiet authority. People spoke softly here, as if money itself demanded reverence. Nadine paused just inside the glass doors, adjusting the worn canvas strap of her tote bag on her shoulder. She was a black woman in her mid-40s, wearing faded jeans, practical sneakers, and a simple gray sweater. No jewelry, no designer logo, no visual signals that told this place she mattered. She had learned long ago how much appearances spoke before a person ever opened their mouth. Nadine exhaled once and stepped forward. A digital sign blinked. Next customer, window 3. As she walked toward the counter, she felt it. The subtle shift in the room. A glance that lingered too long. A man in a tailored suit tightening his jaw. A young woman scrolling her phone, then slowly lifting her eyes. Curiosity sharpening into judgment. Nadine had felt this her entire life. The quiet question people asked without saying it. What is she doing here? At the counter sat Lily Chen, a young teller with neat hair and tired eyes. Lily offered a polite smile, the kind learned through training manuals. How can I help you today? I need to deposit a check, Nadine said calmly, sliding the envelope across the counter. Lily opened it. Her eyes widened. For a fraction of a second, professionalism slipped. Lily quickly masked it, but Nadine noticed. She always noticed. I'll need to get my manager for this amount, Lily said, lowering her voice. It's standard procedure. That's fine, Nadine replied. Behind the glass walls of the second-floor office, Grant Holloway had already noticed her. Grant was 38, clean-cut, confident, the kind of man who had never questioned whether he belonged in rooms like this. He stood by the window, arms crossed, watching Nadine from above as Lily made the call. Grant didn't hear her words. He didn't need to. All he saw was a black woman with a worn bag and shoes that had seen better days, standing at his bank, attempting to move a sum of money that, in his mind, didn't match her existence. His lips pressed into a thin line. Another problem before lunch, he thought. He descended the stairs with measured steps, each one echoing authority. Conversations hushed as he approached the counter. Grant didn't greet Nadine, didn't offer her a seat. He picked up the check between two fingers, holding it as though it might stain him. $420,000, he said aloud, his tone flat, almost amused. Is this correct? Yes, Nadine answered. It's a profit distribution from an investment. Grant's eyes flicked to her tote bag, then to her hands, then to her face. What exactly do you do for a living, Miss Brooks? He asked. The question wasn't curious. It was an accusation wrapped in politeness. I run several businesses, Nadine said. Grant smiled, not warmly. Several, he repeated. Right. He typed her name into the system. The screen showed what he expected and what he needed. A standard checking account. No flashy balances, no premium services, no visible wealth. Grant leaned back slightly. So let me get this straight, he said, raising his voice just enough for nearby customers to hear. You're asking me to believe that a woman dressed like this suddenly receives nearly $500,000. The room grew quieter. Nadine felt the familiar tightening behind her ribs. The old memory surfaced, Being 19, standing in another bank, another man behind another counter telling her she didn't look financially responsible. She met Grant's eyes. "You're welcome to verify the check," she said. "Call the issuing firm. Everything is legitimate." Grant didn't pick up the phone. Instead, he smiled again, wider this time. "You know what I think?" he said. "I think this check doesn't belong to you." Lily stiffened. Grant continued, emboldened by the silence. "I think you might be cleaning offices for someone important and thought you'd try your luck. Or maybe you're being used as a front. Either way, I'm not risking this bank's reputation." The words landed hard, not shouted, not obscene, but sharp enough to cut. Nadine felt heat rise to her face, but she kept her voice steady. "Sir," she said, "you're making assumptions based on how I look. I've asked you to verify the check. That's all." Grant's jaw tightened. "I've stopped more fraud than you could imagine," he said loudly, "and I won't apologize for doing my job." Then he did something that froze the room. He tore the check in half. Gasps rippled through the lobby. Grant ripped it again and again. Small, deliberate pieces. Paper fluttered into the trash can beside the counter. "There," he said. "Transaction denied. You're free to go." Lily covered her mouth. The man in the suit looked away, embarrassed. Someone in the back pulled out a phone. Nadine stood still for 3 seconds. Then she nodded once. "All right," she said quietly. She turned and walked toward the exit, spine straight, steps steady, dignity intact. Behind her, Grant exhaled, satisfied. He had no idea what he had just done. Outside, the Chicago air felt heavier. Nadine paused on the sidewalk, sunlight reflecting off the glass building behind her. She reached into her bag and pulled out her phone. Not in anger, not in revenge, but in resolve. 20 years of silence had built something inside her. And today, it was awake. Before the story continues, let me ask you something. Have you ever watched someone be judged before they spoke a single word? Yes or no? Nadine didn't go home right away. She walked 3 blocks past Brightstone National Bank before she slowed her pace, the sound of traffic grounding her. Her phone was warm in her hand, the screen dark. For a moment, she simply stood there, breathing, letting the weight of what had just happened settle into her bones. What hurt wasn't the torn check. It was the certainty in Grant Holloway's eyes, the ease with which he decided who she was allowed to be. That look was familiar. It followed her through grocery stores, airports, boardrooms where she stayed quiet on purpose, letting men talk past her. It had followed her for 20 years, wearing different faces, speaking in different tones, always asking the same question. "How did you get here?" Nadine turned and headed toward the South Shore bus stop. She could have called a driver. She didn't. She rode public transit because it reminded her where she came from and why she never raised her voice when others tried to shrink her. Her apartment was modest. 2nd floor, clean, quiet. On the wall hung framed photos, not of luxury, but of survival. Nadine at 22, holding a baby girl with tired eyes and a stubborn smile. Nadine in a janitor's uniform, hair wrapped, hands cracked from cleaning chemicals. Nadine standing outside her first tiny office space, keys trembling in her palm. She set her bag down and finally let herself sit. The memories came fast. Being told she was lucky to have work. Being called articulate like it was an exception. Being ignored until someone needed her results. She stood and went to the kitchen table. Carefully, she opened her bag and removed an envelope. Inside were the torn pieces of the check. Lily Chen had slipped them to her when Grant wasn't looking. Their fingers had brushed, and Lily had whispered, "I'm sorry." Nadine laid the pieces out like a puzzle. $420,000, the exact amount from the Redwood Atlas development deal, an investment she'd entered quietly, strategically, trusting her instincts. She took a photo. Then she scrolled through her contacts and stopped on a name she hadn't needed in years. Harold Whitman. The phone rang twice. "Nadine," Harold said, his voice steady, familiar. "I was wondering when you'd call." "There was an incident at Brightstone," she said. "I need a meeting with the board." Silence, then a slow inhale. "Did they do something foolish?" "They tore up my check." The pause stretched. "I'll clear my morning," Harold said. "You're still their largest private bondholder. They can't ignore this." Nadine ended the call and leaned back. She hadn't told Grant who she was because she shouldn't have needed to. Respect wasn't supposed to be earned through wealth. It was supposed to be given freely. The next morning, she dressed simply but sharply. Navy blazer, white blouse, hair pulled back clean. She looked like what she had always been, a woman who knew exactly where she was going. Bright stone tower rose over downtown Chicago like a declaration. Security escorted her to the 18th floor without question. The conference room doors opened. Inside sat Robert Kinsley, the bank's chairman, Evelyn Hart, operations, Jonathan Pierce, legal counsel. They stood when Nadine entered. "Nadine Brooks," Robert said. "Thank you for coming." She nodded and took her seat. "I won't waste your time," she said. "2 days ago, your branch manager publicly accused me of fraud, humiliated me, and destroyed a legitimate financial instrument." She slid the photo across the table, the torn check. Jonathan leaned forward. Evelyn's face tightened. Robert exhaled slowly. "This is deeply concerning." "It's also not isolated," Nadine said. "I wasn't targeted because of my account balance. I was targeted because of how I look." The room was quiet. "I am a black woman," she continued calmly, "and your employee decided I didn't belong in his bank." Robert cleared his throat. "We've asked Mr. Holloway to join us." The door opened. Grant walked in with his usual confidence and lost it instantly when he saw Nadine. Color drained from his face. She sat at the table, not standing, not waiting, equal. Grant's mouth opened, closed. "Sit," Robert said. Grant obeyed. "Explain your actions," Evelyn said. Grant swallowed. "I believed the check was suspicious." "Based on what?" Jonathan asked. Grant hesitated. "Her profile didn't match the amount." Nadine met his eyes. "You mean my skin?" she said quietly. Grant flinched. Robert's voice hardened. "Mr. Holloway, Miss Brooks holds $4 million in Brightstone bonds. She represents 17% of our private debt." Grant's hands began to shake. "I didn't know," he whispered. "That's the problem," Nadine said. "You didn't need to." She leaned forward, voice steady, unshaking. "You judged me without verification. You spoke to me as if dignity were something I had to prove. Do you know how many black women walk into institutions like yours every day and leave smaller than when they entered?" Grant stared at the table. Robert rubbed his temples. "There are previous complaints," he admitted. "We overlooked them." "People always do," Nadine said, "until it costs them." Evelyn straightened. "We need accountability." "I don't want his life ruined," Nadine said. "I want your culture changed." Grant looked up, stunned. Nadine continued. "Suspend him, retrain every manager, create oversight, and fund opportunity where your bias has denied it." Silence. Then Robert nodded. "Agreed. Sure, Nadine." Grant was suspended without pay, reassigned, watched. But Nadine wasn't finished. She left the tower and returned to South Shore, to the community kitchen, to the bakery she'd helped fund, to the mechanic shop with her money behind its walls. She stood among people who knew her name without needing her resume. That night, her daughter Talia Brooks sat beside her on the couch. "They'll listen now," Talia said. Nadine smiled softly. "I wasn't trying to be heard. I was trying to be seen. And this time, the world was looking." The suspension letter went out the same afternoon. Grant Holloway packed his office in silence. No speeches, no justifications. No one clapped him on the shoulder. For the first time in his career, the building that once echoed his authority felt unbearably loud. Every step toward the elevator sounded like a verdict, but Nadine Brooks wasn't there to watch him fall. She was back in South Shore, standing in line at the community kitchen, tying an apron around her waist. The smell of soup and bread filled the room. People greeted her the way they always had, with warmth, with ease, without needing to know who she was on paper. That was the difference. The following week, Brightstone National Bank announced changes, real ones, not press release language, not a temporary seminar to quiet outrage. Mandatory bias training for every manager, a new ethics oversight committee, an independent reporting channel for discrimination complaints, and something else, a fund, the Brooks Community Microequity Fund, seeded with $500,000, designed to support entrepreneurs who had been historically denied access to capital, especially people of color. Nadine didn't ask for her name on it. The board insisted. The first loan went to a young black woman who had been rejected by 3 banks for a bakery she'd already proven could survive. The second went to a refugee family opening a small repair shop. The third to a single father trying to expand a daycare center in a neighborhood banks had labeled high risk. Every approval came with guidance, mentorship, respect, not charity, partnership. Grant Holloway spent his suspension in a training room that felt nothing like the polished offices he was used to. He listened to stories, real ones. People describing the moment they were dismissed, humiliated, reduced to stereotypes. People who looked like Nadine. People he'd never truly seen before. At first, he defended himself in his head. I was just being cautious. I didn't mean it like that. But the voices didn't stop. And somewhere between the third testimony and the fifth, something cracked. When Grant returned to work, it wasn't as a manager. He was reassigned to a neighborhood branch. Lower salary, closer oversight, fewer walls between him and the people he served. On his first day back, a black woman about Nadine's age stepped up to the counter, holding paperwork with trembling hands. Grant stood. "Please," he said gently, pulling out a chair. "Have a seat. Take your time." The woman blinked, surprised. That night, Grant called Nadine. "I don't expect forgiveness," he said. "I just needed you to know. I finally understand what I took from you that day, and I'm trying to give it back, to everyone." Nadine listened. Then she said, "Change isn't about guilt, Grant. It's about responsibility. Keep choosing better." At home, Talia Brooks received an email that made her laugh out loud. An offer from Brightstone to join the team managing the new fund. "You did this," Talia said, hugging her mother. Nadine shook her head. "We did this. Together. And so did everyone who refused to stay silent." Months passed. Brightstone's profits didn't drop. They rose. Customer trust increased. Retention climbed. Quiet clients returned. The ones who had left without making a scene. The ones who had been underestimated and never forgot it. In the lobby of the main branch, a new statement appeared on the wall. "We don't judge worth by appearance. We invest in people." Nadine walked past it one afternoon, wearing the same simple clothes, the same worn bag. Lily Chen, now promoted, greeted her with a genuine smile. "South Shore Kitchen tonight?" Lily asked. Nadine nodded. "Always." Later that evening, as the sun dipped low, Nadine sat at her kitchen table, journaling the way she had since she was young. "They tore my check," she wrote, "but they didn't tear my dignity. I could have destroyed one man. Instead, we rebuilt a system, and that will outlive all of us." She closed the notebook and looked around her apartment. The photos on the wall hadn't changed, neither had she. Only the world around her had shifted, just enough to let more people stand upright. And that, she knew, was the real victory. Before you go, let me ask you something. How did this story make you feel? Did it make you angry, hopeful, or reflective? Do you think Nadine chose the right path by changing the system instead of seeking revenge? Yes or no? If this story moved you, comment 111 below so I know you were here. Tell me which country you're watching from. And if you believe stories like this matter, please share this video. Your voice helps these stories reach the people who need them most.